Today I'm going to be hacking on some cursorless internals. So we in cursorless have the notion of containing scope, where you can say, for example, take func, chuck line, string, etc. Right, which is like a region within your document. And most scopes, when you say like take line, you get a single range. It's a single line. We have a small number of exceptions to that. Basically, one exception, which is called tags. So when you say like take tags, you get the start and end XML tags. So I'll quickly show you that. Debug stench. Drowse. So you can see, so if I switch to HTML, please mode, clap, flay. Mode HTML. Diamond, word, whatever. Push. Diamond, stroke, word, whatever. Post wrangle, word, hello. Tug. Drowse. Okay, so if I'm here, I can say tags, take tags, drowse. And as you can see, that selects both tags. So that's useful. I mean, the main use case for that is if you, I guess, want to unwrap something, or if you want to change them, you can apply name afterwards. So for example, curse undo. Drowse. Keep in mind, I use clear instead of change. I might have mapped change. Change click. Drowse. No, I haven't. Okay, yeah, so I use clear instead of change. So you would say change name tags. I'm going to say clear name tags. Drowse. And as you can see, that kind of leaves me here so that now I can just change the name. So you can change the tag, right? So we are going to support that using what we have this new way of defining our tree sitter scopes, right? Tree sitter is the parser that we use, and we have the way we do it today is very hand rolled. We have our own kind of like language that we came up with, which works fairly well, but and a lot of it you do custom things in TypeScript. However, mini brick. Drowse. There is tree sitter itself has its own query language, and so now we're moving to using that, and that provides a lot of benefits. Like for example, it basically integrates much better with our whole ecosystem. So you can say things like next func when you're not in a func. You can be at the end of a function and say take func. A bunch of other benefits. And so what we're trying to do is migrate everything over to that. But this one kind of corner case we don't support is where when I say the name of a scope, tags, you get two things back instead of one. And we didn't really design for that. It should be a really easy change, but famous last words. So let's give it a whirl and see how it goes. Debug stopper. List doc scope. Choose 4. Page up. Falling red gust. Drowse. Okay, cool. So as you can see, this is a notion of a scope, right? So this is basically like a region, like a function, a line, whatever, is sort of the generic definition of that. And as you can see, we get a bunch of these scopes, and then you can actually grab the target from the scope, right? So for example, if I'm like post risk, pre-risk, pre-risk, Drowse works better if you have Talon listening. So if I say name from here, it will select that, even though I'm not inside the name, right? So we have a notion of domain, which is like the region within which something works. So don't worry about that too much. The point is that you have the target itself, and then you have the domain. But so get target gives you the target. So what we want to do is just make it so that it's get targets, and it returns multiple targets. So I'm going to do a thing I do a lot when I'm in a strongly typed language, or maybe the Haskell people will complain when I say strongly typed, but in a language with types, I will just change something and then just chase errors around. So let's give that a whirl. Post star gust. Cross. Rename star gust. Push spun clap. Disk Oliver Drowse. Okay, so we just renamed to get targets, and so that's obviously shouldn't create any errors, although I'm seeing errors. What's going on here? Maybe that rename, maybe we use get target in other place. Oh yeah, it seems like we have some types. Yeah, so it looks like that rename didn't work quite like we wanted it to. So maybe let's just, oh yeah, because I just did this thing here where it's not actually referring to the type. Yeah, just so a strict rename doesn't quite work for us. So maybe let's scout all risk. Scout all risk. Scratcher. Scratch. Drowse. Okay, so for some reason, yeah, oh, it's in the test, and yeah, interesting. Yeah, so because I didn't, you would think the rename would work here. Anyways, it's not very many cases, so let's just camel get targets. Many option clap. 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 Drowse. Okay, cool. Tab close. TypeScript restart. Drowse. Why is it complaining about this file even though I closed it? Anyways, okay, cool. So looks like it's mostly happy, but so now we need to change from target to a list of targets. Pop last to Zen mode. Pop last. Post star each square. Disk. Drowse. Okay, and so that's where things should start getting interesting. There we go. Now we have 18 errors. So let's just start chasing those around. Problem next. Cross. Flay. Cross. Tab close. Problem next. Drowse. Okay, so right, as you can see here, it's returning a list, and so now you're getting, when we map it, we get target. So center func, center line, Drowse. So I think we can just turn this into a flat map, right? So when you say every tags, then each element, if you say every and you get a bunch of different elements and each one returns two tags, we just want to flat map those cursors. So I think that's an easy one. Resume. Pre-made word flat. Drill ship made. Disk Drowse. Okay. Let's keep chasing. Problem next. Drowse. Okay, there's a lot of these where we just we wrapped it in a square because it was expecting. So all of our modifiers, right? So like you can take, so a scope type just defines scopes with functions, etc. It's not actually a modifier, right? So when I say take func, that is actually the containing function modifier, but I could say next func, every func, etc. Right? And so a modifier always returns multiple things, whereas the scope handlers only returned one. So now things should get a bit cleaner in places because we don't need to just wrap them in squares. So chuck bounding disk. Problem next. Drowse. Okay. So here, construct scope range target. Bottom func. Drowse. Okay, what is this? Constructs a target consisting of range between scope 1 and scope 2. Right. Oh, interesting. Okay, where's this used? Reference func name. Drowse. Okay, so get containing scope target. Finds the containing scope of the target for the given scope handler. I see, right. I see. Okay, got it. fine. Okay, so right. So the idea is if we say like take func and our cursor, the endpoints of our cursor sit in two different functions, and I say take func, it expands to both those functions and creates a range between them. I can quickly show you that if that's confusing. Oh, but things are. Oh, actually, I can just do it here. So yeah, for example, if I'm like, let's say, cross list doc action clap page down take X take cross plex past yellow fine Drowse. Okay, so you can see start cursors here, end cursors here. If I say take func, it'll expand from here to this function. Take func, Drowse. Right? So as you can see, it expanded from here, and made a range between them. So that's what we're seeing here, construct scope range target. So the question being, what does that mean when you have multiple multiple domains, so if I say like, yeah, so let's say I had a, like, those HTML tags, and I had one cursor in one element, the other cursor in another element, and I say take tags. What should that even do? It's not really even clear what that should do. Because you can't form a range just like, I wonder if you just should take all the ranges and just union them. I think it's probably fine because it's a really weird use case. Or just throw an exception. Or just throw maybe just throw an exception, because that's just like a really weird use case. I'm not even sure what you would expect to happen in that case. Yeah, let's just throw an exception and then see if the tests fail. Falling play pit, Zen mode. Drowse. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, basically in this case, if you... right, okay, so if they're equal, then we just return it. Otherwise, we just ensure that there's one of each. And yeah, so these are now lists, right? Whereas before they were singletons. And so I think we basically can just say, yeah, target one list, target two list. And if the length of either of them is greater than one, then we just barf. Okay, let's change our type first so that it's a list. Post play trap square. Disk Drowse. Okay, got rid of one error. Okay, so then this is going to be target list one and target list two, or like targets one and targets two. Yeah. So, okay. Post first word X risk slice box 2. Drowse. I recently changed X to cross because conformer D doesn't like cross, and so it probably just heard something weird. Let's try that again. Post cross risk slice box 2. Tug spun. Drowse. Okay, so we have the list now, and then we say if the length of either of them is not 1, then we just complain. Snip if after block, bring X risk. Nope. Snip if after block, bring X error point word length is equal num1. Snip if bring x error chain length is equal. Nope. Drowse. This X to cross thing is killing me. This is, yeah, word of caution. Every time you change a spoken form, you do need to relearn it, and it is painful, so don't do it lightly. Bring crosshair chain length is not equal num1 make or bring cross risk is not equal num1 next make throw proud error. Yes. Bring block crosshair after this. Drowse nailed it. All right, so now we're gonna say, right. Chuck last car first word ears each and yellow gust. Square wrap that, post that, clear value, bring crosshair and cross risk. Square wrap ears each, slice yellow gust, post that, clear value, bring crosshair and cross risk. Bring tail paint box point after box 2 disk. Drowse. Okay, cool. So then return start target dot create continuous range. Right, and we have to square wrap this because we're returning a list, right? Square wrap value blue spun disk. Problem next. Drowse. Okay. So this one get containing scope target. Right. So I think. Right. So get containing scope target now needs to return a list. So we need to change the type signature here. Post type. Post X trap square disk. Nope. Post cross trap square disk. Drowse. Yeah, remapping. It's painful. But for whatever reason, Conformer D, which largely is much better for me than Conformer B, the speech recognition engine, certain words it dislikes that Conformer B was happy with. So I guess, it's a machine learning model. It's going to be better at some things and worse at others. Problem next. Center func. Drowse. Okay, so this is kind of a rote thing we're gonna have to do on a bunch of these. This actually defines character, right? So like, what does it mean when I say next character, previous character, every character? These scope handlers define the scopes. And so of course, it just needs to, we're just gonna have to do some annoying, dumb square wrapping. It gives me mixed feelings about the whole thing, because we're doing all of this for a single use case, which is like tags. But it's really useful for people who use HTML and JavaScript, like, TypeScript, React and stuff. So such is life. And I think we may end up having other use cases for it. Square wrap apple whale disk. Drowse. Apple is just my call scope type, like function call is short for application. Problem next. Tab close. Problem next. Drowse. Okay, so this is surrounding pair. And so this is center func. Crown func. Drowse. Okay, so what's going on here? Process surrounding pair core. This is for surrounding pairs. This is legacy code because it's not using newfangled scope handlers. So we're a bit faster and looser here. So let's see if we can just hack something to work here. Okay, so containing scope. Where's that coming from? Pre-box spun. Push. Drowse. Okay, right. So we're doing get containing scope target, right? And there might be multiple containing scopes. So I think in this case, I'm just going to hack and just do square 0. Just grab the first thing. I think that's fine because this is never... yeah, so it's this thing called a text fragment scope handler, which is like when you say surrounding pair within a string, within a document, it sort of knows I'm in a text fragment. I shouldn't use the lexer for the programming language. I should just look for parentheses using a regex. So let's I don't think that's ever going to have 2 scope types, right? Like 2 text fragments coming out. You're going to be in one or not one. So step, square, num0, disk, problem next. Drowse. All right. Let's see. So here, this looks like, yeah, see, now it is a list because it came back as a list. So we can just get rid, I think we're just gonna get rid of a bunch of these squares. Chuck bounding disk, problem next. Drowse. Okay. Iteration, scope, target. Right. So, yeah. Center func. Drowse. Right. So this is if I say every func, right, then we need to know that, okay, if I'm like here and I say every func, it should look for functions in the containing class, right? Or if I'm in a file, look for functions contained in the file, right? And so this is what's called the default iteration scope, right? Because if I just like select something and I say every func, right? If I put my cursor from here to here, take curving risk past curving fine, every func, drowse. So basically it's going to be, oh wait, no, this is old. Yeah, so this is old fangled scope handlers, so they're not as smart. But in the newfangled ones, it basically looks at the range and goes every within that range, unless you have an empty range, in which case it will expand to the default iteration scope, which will be like class in the case of function. It'll be line in the case of token, right? So if I say every token, it'll expand to the line and look for all the tokens in that line, right? Pre-ears stack. Every token, drowse, right? So you can see it's all the tokens on this line. So that's the default iteration scope. So what happens is if we have an empty range or whatever, then we expand to the iteration scope. So I think in this case, I think the right thing to do is really this should be returning a list of ranges. I mean, it's weird, but like if there's multiple, if for whatever reason we used tags, if tags were like an iteration scope, then we should use all of them. So I think we just map pre-blue near square post cap chain map snip lambda range clear box risk word target pre-curve repr Drowse. Another change I made recently was changing curve to curving because Conforma didn't like that either. So you'll see that one bite me as well. So if you're big on Schadenfreude, then this might be a fun one to watch as I struggle through my new remaps. All right. Post cross leper, bring box risk, move 2 clicks, play point disk, drowse. Okay, cool. I think that is good. So now this is targets. What happened there? I wonder what I did there. Let's move 2 clicks, blue lacquer after just blue gust. Disk. Problem next. Drowse. Okay, right. And so now it's like, hey, this is a list. What am I supposed to do with this? And so I think we just do a flat map here. Yeah, so let's Flay. Carve argue, camel iteration range, lambda wrap value. Drowse. Oh yeah, that's the thing that I'd like to do at some point. Is currently carve is which is cut. It will like delete the thing, um, and cut it, right? So like cut is basically like delete and copy, right? And so it just assumes that you're gonna like delete it and copy it, and then you're done with that region. But like really, we kind of want a like so like as change is to chuck, right? So like if I say like change, so if I for example change a line, clear line blue equal Drowse, you can see it like leaves the line there and puts my cursor there. Nope. Chuck line blue equal Drowse, you can see it leaves my cursor and deletes the line, and including like the new line and stuff. It's like I'm deleting it. We have that distinction. We don't have such a distinction for carve, right? We want a version of carve where in addition it doesn't just like delete it and like leave it there and leave your cursor. That is useful, but like there's other situations where like I want to copy it and change it. So I think that's an issue we have. I'd love to tackle that. Not a crazy one. So if someone wants to roll up their sleeves, I'm happy to point them in the right direction. Okay, so, but as you can see, my brain was actually expecting that to happen and it didn't. It just did something weird here. So let's undo that. Nope. Drowse, yeah, so I carved it, and as you can see, it deleted the comma because it was doing a removal range, right? So really what I wanted was like a version of carve, which is like carve change or something like that, which would move it to the clipboard, but then put your cursor there to put something new there, and now you have the thing on your clipboard. So instead, let's just apply it to the function call so it doesn't delete the comma. Bit of a hack. Carve apple. Camel iteration range, lambda wrap value. Paste that. Nope. Round wrap value, pre that, paste that, chain map. Drill scratch. Push twice, bring crosshair disk. Clear pit, camel flat map disk. Drowse. I guess flat map's in the vocabulary, so it didn't actually properly camel it. It viewed it as one word. Tug twice, scratch, ship made, disk, Drowse. Okay, cool. So we just basically flat mapped, applied it to all the iteration ranges. I think that's fine. Problem next. Drowse. I mean, this seems like pretty clearly it's now a list of targets. So chuck bounding. Chuck bounding, disk, problem next. Join risk, disk, problem next. Chuck line, disk, problem next. Chuck curving, drip, disk, problem next. Drowse. Sometimes I wish prettier would like, I guess it's just the way JavaScript works, that if you have a return, I think the problem is that JavaScript makes semicolons optional in some places, and so they try to be smart, and if you say like return and nothing after it, it's like, oh, they must have forgotten semicolon, when really like I'm returning the thing on the next line. So lesson to not be too clever. Okay, so what's going on here? Right, trees. Okay, tree sitter scope handler. This is actually where we want this thing to happen, right? We want to be able to return multiple things. So we'll actually tackle that in a little bit, but for now, I think we just square wrap this. Center func. Drowse, yeah. So we just square wrap this this call. Square wrap apple bolt whale disk. Problem next. Square wrap apple Drowse. So we're gonna do a lot of these, just like square wrapping this thing and whatever. I don't know. I'm not in love, like I said before, but the XML programmers want their tags. Disk problem next. Square wrap apple bolt whale disk problem next. Square wrap apple disk problem next. Square wrap apple blue spun. Nope. Square wrap apple blue trap disk problem next. Square wrap apple disk problem next. Square wrap value box surge disk problem next. Drowse. Okay, well, according to TypeScript, we're done. We'll see what the test cases say. Drowse. Oh yeah, we're pretty far away from main. So I'm gonna just pop back to main so that the test cases actually pass. I'm pretty far out ahead of main right now. Git log. Term zoom. Drowse. As you can see, there's main, and we're chilling up here because I've added a bunch of these different predicates so that to make our query language more powerful. These should all go in pretty quickly. I've been trying to do atomic PRs, so making all these things really small. But I basically just implemented everything we needed for this one specific thing we're trying to do with JSX tags. So let's pop back to main. I don't think I'm going to have any merge conflicts just because because I don't think any of these touch any of this stuff. Git pop to this. Drowse. Drats. Oh, right. Yeah, because I guess I made some changes to these scope handlers. But I think if we just pop back one, then test cases should be passing, because it's just where we started to add these things that things were a problem. Git pop back one. Drowse. Okay, cool. Tests, I think, should pass on this commit, so let's give this a shot. Debug test. Debug console. Drowse. Okay, and you can watch the Cursorless test cases, which is kind of fun, I think. You know, it has its own charm. It looks... I've been meaning to record a video of just these test cases running. But as you can see, we have 3,000 test cases. And each one of these is a full end-to-end Cursorless command, right? So it's like, here's the start, here's the command, here's the end. So you can see it's just like some crazy fast person using Cursorless with no highlights. So it should run fairly quickly. Let's see if I can just fill the airspace until this thing is done running. But yeah, lots and lots of test cases. We actually are planning to use these as a form of documentation because really, truly, they're the only way to fully understand everything Cursorless is capable of. So anything you can do in Cursorless, pretty much there's a test case for, in every edge case and all sorts of different combinations. So we are planning to turn these into, make a visualization of these test cases on the website. So you can just sort of see, it will show the beginning and it will just like animate, it'll say like, here's the spoken form, and then it will show the output. And I think that'll be a really nice way to learn Cursorless. And then we can have the docs have, for every command or action, etc., within the docs, you can say, hey, look, here's all the different test cases that use that. So you can see, here's 50 commands, and you can filter, like, I only want to see the ones in TypeScript or whatever. So I think that'll be really nice for the docs. So hopefully that'll come soon. That's going to be a lot easier now that we've switched to a monorepo. Okay, how did we do? Okay, fine. I think this is fine. I'm not worried about these. I'm not worried about these. Yeah. So these I think are because I'll bet you that, yeah, I think the thing is that, so these query files that we use to define new queries. So as you can see, it's like take inside element, clear tags. So I started implementing JSX so you can see these are like, this is JSX. And so you can see, so I started implementing JSX using these new query language, and I think the query file just stuck around. So yeah, awesome. Thing I love about TypeScript is like quite frequently, if TypeScript is happy, the code is correct, which is awesome. Okay, cool. I think that worked. So now maybe let's get to the payoff. Let's commit that, because I think that kind of stands on its own. That maybe could even be a nice little atomic PR. Zen mode, git status. Drowse. Yeah, touched so many random files, I wasn't even paying attention. Okay, cool. So let's just, let's commit this, and what are we gonna call it? Support multiple targets per scope. Git commit, support multiple targets per scope. Disclose. Git log, side dog. Drowse. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's sitting here. So let's, right. Okay, so now there's this thing called like allow multiple. So the way that we're planning to make this work, so let's move this to our current branch. Git move this to head. Drowse. Okay, cool. So this is now sitting in front of us. So let's go to this branch. Git pop to this. Drowse. At some point, I'm gonna make a video on my Git branchless setup, my voice Git branchless setup, because like I love it. It took a little while. I love branchless. I mean, 90% of the coolness is due to branchless, not due to anything I did, just to be clear. But I think it works really well with voice. Anyways, okay, so we now have this Drowse. Oh no, what did I just do? Zen mode. Disk Oliver, git status. Drowse. Miraculously, I didn't break anything while I was talking and not drowsed, so win. Okay, fine. So let's take a look at the query file. Cross. Pop.doc JavaScript React Zen mode. List.doc JavaScript React. Clap. Drowse. Okay. So the way, so you can see it's this, so tags is this thing called XML both tags. That's the name of the scope. Basically you can see, so the way that we're doing, oh, by the way, so all of these are actually defining not just regular tags. These are just for what are called JSX fragments. Debug stench. Diamond push, word hello, push diamond stroke. Drowse. This is a JSX fragment, right? It's like it's some special React thing where it like it's not actually a tag. It just like wraps up a list of tags or something. I don't know. I don't do a lot of JSX these days, but that's what this is for. Okay. So if you look here, so the way this parses is like that's a child, everything in here is a child. Not a good parse, in my personal opinion. Like this should be a child and this should be a child. But I think due to the fact that like there's some ambiguity, like where like, because if you're not in TypeScript React or JavaScript React, this means something else. Like in TypeScript, this is for casting. So I think they had trouble with the parser. Anyways, long story short, you have this kind of weird parse tree. So you can see here, we have XML both tags, right? JSX fragment is this whole thing, okay? And then XML both tags, okay? So first we target that. So this whole thing gets tagged as tags. And then we say, actually, I want you to take these two children, Okay, so that's now tags. But then also, here's another pattern, also JSX fragment, but here we modify and we say actually take everything from -3 onwards, right? So it's -3, -2, -1. Okay. These indices are indices of the children of the tag. It's this thing called child range that we made. And notice that these indices are inclusive, which generally I'm against having inclusive end indices, but in this case, I think it makes sense because we can exclude them because you sometimes want to go like up until and not including or including, and so just it's a lot like the way so we have this is like exclude start, exclude end, a lot like we have like air past bat, air until bat, etc. So like past by default includes both of them. Okay, anyways, point is XML both tags now appears on this fragment here, and so what'll happen, right, is that this tag will now appear on the same place, right? And so what we want to say is, okay, if you have the same domain, so because this is the domain of tags, right? Anywhere within here, I say tags, it'll give me this and this, right? So the domain of tags is this entire thing. And so what we want to say is if you have the same scope appear twice with the same domain, by default, that's an error, okay? But if you have this flag called allow multiple, then we will say, okay, fine. We will just we will merge them together and have some like the same thing with two targets. So that's what we're gonna do here, okay? We already defined this allow multiple. It just sets a flag called allow multiple. And so now what we're gonna do is in our tree sitter scope handler, right? The thing that defines all of our scopes which use tree sitter, we are going to look and see if we have two things with the same domain, then look if there's allow multiple. If so, we merge them. If not, we throw an error. Okay, great. Copy line, pop stopper, cross, pop doc tree sitter scope handler, center file, Drowse. Okay, right. So this is our tree sitter scope handler. And we have these domains here. And I think what we do, okay, so this comes back. Yeah, so I think what happens is actually in the base tree sitter scope handler, pre-class, Drowse, falling risk, Drowse. Yeah, okay, so what happens is it basically runs a query over the document, then basically for each match converts it into like an actual scope, right? One of these scopes. And notice this now has multiple content ranges on it, but everyone is just a single entry in it. Okay, and then we filter out the null ones and then we sort them. And so then I think basically what we do is then we just iterate through. So the one of the guarantees of the sort order is that if two things have the same domain, then they'll be next to each other, right? So I think what we do is basically we just merge them together, and we just merge adjacent ones together. So I think there's probably a slick way to do that. Yeah, I wonder if we can like use like Lodash or something. Or we could just like loop the old fashioned way. So yeah, so let's just apply just like a merge on it. So right, okay, so let's say like merge, yeah, like I wonder if there's yeah, okay, fine, let's make a function, let's wrap this thing. Round wrap value play trap. Pre that camel merge adjacent by. Disk. Drowse. Okay, so we need to determine whether they're equal, and we need to merge them, right? So we need two arguments. Poor entry play trap, snip lambda. Nope. Drowse. Oh, I guess put on the same line because there's only one. So I guess that is technically correct. But let's just pour the line because it's just going to make it easier for my brain. Nope. Poor line entry play trap. Yes. Drowse. This is close, but we don't want is equal. We have a function called is range equal. So, right, and it doesn't know about the types because they are, this doesn't exist yet, but no matter. Post first word, cross quench, proud range. Drowse. See, I'm learning. Cross quench. Okay, and then how to merge them. Clone line. Drowse. I would love to have value apply to the value of one of these like arrow functions. That would be a great first issue if someone wants to tackle that. Okay. Clear apple. Round big curly. Yes, clap. Bring blue air, point, word, scratcher. Camel, get targets, round. Camel is reversed, is type bool. Breaker. Yes. Disk. Drowse. That's the kind of stuff that Copilot is great at. Okay, cool. So let's make this function. Quick fix blue gust. Clap. Falling that. Disk. Drowse. Okay. So let us yeah, okay. Fine. Yeah, and it returns, I think we'll just return a list. We don't need to return an iterable. I think we can do better than that. So, and then I think let's make this, yeah, okay, fine. Bring type pit to gust. Step diamond, ship trap, clear 6 views York, ship trap. Scrape. Clear X trap, type bool. Nope. Clear cross trap, type bool. Drowse. Just when I was getting cocky. Cross trap, X trap, bit me again. Okay, right. So the first one is whether they're equal. Clear 1, camel is equal. Scratch proud equal. Clear 2, word merge. Clear 0, word input. Disk. Bring trap to pit. Disk. Drowse. Okay. So what's it yelling at me about? Oh, yeah, it doesn't need to be a generator function. Chuck snow. Disk. Drowse. Okay, cool. So this is the type signature. I bet you that Copilot will write this one for us. Let's move it to a new file, I think. Because it seems fairly general purpose. Quick fix func. Disk. Page up. Falling bat. Disk. Bring blue trap to cap. Disk. Drowse. All right. Come on, Copilot. Let's see what you got. Clear core harp. Pilot jest. Yes. Disk. Drowse. Okay, let's see how it did. Output for const item of input if output.length is equal to 0. Output.push item. Okay. Else const last. What isn't it like? Equals output.length minus 1. Yeah. If is equal last item output. Yep. Output.push item. Yeah, that looks good. So we just need to teach TypeScript what that type is. Post blue look, stack void, ship trap, square, disk. Drowse. Chuck pair. Disk. Drowse. Oh yeah, I bet if we just put, yeah, so that's the problem there. We want the list on that. Yeah. Chuck type, post play oats, stack void, ship trap, square, disk, drowse. All right, thanks, Copilot. Can you write me a doc string? Doc string func. Chuck trailing block. Pilot jest. Pilot jest. Sense the input list next. Scratcher. Scratch next. Snip last. Push void. Yes next. Pilot jest. Drowse, like why isn't it, surely it knows what these are. I mean, it wrote the function. AI sometimes. Scratch. Sense a function. Clear star oats, ship air, tail. Void. Yes, next. Yes, next. Boom. Scratch, clap. Yes. Disk. Drowse. Cool. I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe I'm too dumb to spot the bug that Copilot introduced without me realizing, but that's why we have tests. Pop last. Drowse. Okay. Yeah. Great. Awesome. So I think in theory, oh, right. But we need to check that allow multiple was set, right? That's, I mean, I guess we could just always merge them. That would make your life simpler, but I feel like you could do it by accident, right? Where you just like, you like accidentally have two things with the same domain when you're designing one of these things and it gets merged, and that feels wrong. So I wonder, but like at this point, we just have target scopes, right? We don't even have matches anymore. So like falling oats, unfold that. Falling oats. Drowse. Yeah, so this like returns a target scope when like really it should we need to preserve this allow multiple thing. But okay, let's first just see if this thing even worked, right? Because like that's just trying to handle an error case. Debug stench. Empty diamond, word hello, diamond, stroke. Post second car harp. Take tags. Please mode, clap, word JavaScript. Scratcher, word TypeScript. Pick 2. Scratch. Choose 2. Drowse. Yeah, see, this is another one where I changed pick to choose, another conformer D thing. So you'll see me mess up on that as well. Scratch. Post second car harp. Take tags. Drowse. There you go. So now tags works. It just merges them up. And if we do like element, curse undo. Take element, take elm, drowse. So it still works with things that only have one. Cool. So tag fragments are working now. Let's try name tags. Curse undo. Take name tags. Drowse. By the way, I think I put this in the wrong. I think this should go that way, right? Like I don't do enough HTML. Google Scout HTML elements. Drowse. Yeah, so our cursor should go after that. Thought so. Coder. Drowse. Yeah, that's wrong. Okay, let's fix that up. Pop sesh. Drowse. Okay, so name is the problem, and right. So in the case of the end tag, we want it to be right. Yeah. Yeah, so really it should go before the closing bracket. So we want to move paint ears made before star drum. Clear red near word start. Disk. Debug stopper, debug stench. Empty diamond, word hello. Diamond stroke. Post second car harp. Take name tags. Drowse. Cool. I would say that looks better, but it looks the same to me. But I think that is actually more correct. Because now, if I wanted to like turn this from an anonymous fragment into something else, curse undo. Take name tags, word whatever. Drowse. Right, you can see I turn it into like a real tag, and I don't have to know where the cursor goes, so that's cool. All right, I think this is probably good. I'll patch up and make that thing strict. I think offline, I don't think that's as fun and interesting. So pop stopper, Drowse. Hopefully that was a useful session. It was good to get that done. That's I think most of the major stuff on this query stuff. So now we just start like jamming out, taking all of our old scopes and just converting them to the new one now that we have all these cool operators that we can use. So thank you so much for watching, and happy coding. Record stop.